Lisa, if believe you're there, could you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Jeff West. Jeff West, there he is. Steve Russell.
Yes.
Patricia Ayer. Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Gary Clarion.
Yeah.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
And Ray Karen.
Yes. If we could, at your home, at your wherever you guys are, if we could just pledge allegiance to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
The flag,
United
States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting of April 9th and April 20th?
So moved.
Harry has a
I have a
motion. Can I have a
problem.
second, please?
I have a problem with because you had two things with the same account number, 3/2020. Okay, one was the floodplain management and one was the budget. I don't know if that's a new business this week or whether it was last month.
The budget, Ben, 3/220 is for old business, and the floodplain 3/220 is for new business.
But how can you have the same number? You only have one number for each thing.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yep, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Ben, the floodplain is an ordinance, not an order.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Can I have a roll call, Lisa, for approval of the minutes, please?
Who was second? Gary was
Did we get a
first.
second on the motion to approve the minutes? I'll second that,
So
Lisa.
moved.
Thank you. Jeff West.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yeah.
Patricia Ayer.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Gary Clarion.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
And Ray Karen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep, communications this week. Mike, do you have any communications?
Other than my report, no.
No, okay, so we'll move on. Let's move on to town manager's report then.
Okay, as I mentioned in my report, we're still moving forward with the 201 Turning Lane project. Now we're down to one property that we need to close on the right-of-way. I've been in communications with the property owner, and I'm hopeful that we can do that soon. The project right now currently is planned to begin actually in July, and we should be able to meet our completion date of September 30th. And the only other item I'll mention in my report is the LED street lighting. The electrician has been in the area. Apparently they had problems with their truck, so they had to go buy a new truck, and we're expecting them back next week to begin the process of completing the installation. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Mike, could you just touch very briefly on just your communications with Delta for a mutual aid agreement, just very briefly? I know it's very preliminary.
Yes. So obviously I've been in communication with Tim Beals, the director of Delta. We've talked about creating a mutual aid agreement. I think we're both in agreement to doing that. Tim has provided me with a template, and I will wordsmith that template and send it back to Tim for his input till we get a final product. And then I'm hopeful I can bring that to the council at the June council meeting.
Yeah. And what we're going to do is, like we did last meeting, which I thought worked pretty well, is have each department head kind of give a brief summary on how their departments are working and any issues or anything that the public might know and any questions that the councilors have. I might also add at this point that Tanya is also on this call, and she is receiving texts and some emails from individuals that might have a question during the meeting. So Tanya, if the public is emailing in or communicating to you at some point in time, if you could electronically raise your hand, then if we could probably, ask some of those questions to the individuals or during the meeting at some point in time, considering that we can't have anybody at this point in time, at the meeting itself in person. We're trying to get all the communications we can. So why don't we start with departments, since I forgot Paul Fortuner for Public Works. Why don't we go with the Public Works Department first?
Well, good evening, Ray and the council members. Right now, we are sweeping. We started doing some lawn repairs where we have winter damage. We get calls every once in a while. We've been trying to be as faithful as we can to find all the damage and repair it. Last week, we had a little bit of a scare. I thought I had one of my mechanics that was ill, so we kind of sidelined both of them for a couple days. They're back now. I've pretty much put a halt to most repairs unless they're really necessary. We're pretty broke in our budget, so I've asked the guys to be conscientious of that. Last week we did some work down where Doug Dixon's development is, cleaning up after last year's pipeline project, trying to clean up that property and leave it in a good looking condition because he's got more trailers going in there. So it was either we get in now or we don't. Like Mike said, the streetlight project is ongoing. I did notice they had done some on Outer Clinton Avenue. I haven't been out at night to see what they look like, but if it's like what's in Waterville that I've seen this winter, they look pretty nice. So it's about all I have, Ray.
Okay.
Through the chair to Paul, out back at Public Works, I see that you put some old telephone poles. That must be to keep people from dumping stuff over there.
Yes, it is. We're having people going behind the piles and dumping materials we're not supposed to take, like old steps or lumber or stuff that we can't take. So we basically had to block it off because even though I have a camera down there now, we can't see everything. We are in the process of looking to put the second camera at the gate, so we'll be able to see license plate numbers of violators if we can prove it. And speaking with Mike last week, I guess we're gonna have to come up with some kind of ordinance so that we can address it. If we find somebody dumping something illegally, that we have some means of going after them and either charging them for littering or illegal dumping or try to recoup our costs. So that's where we are with that.
Now, the garage is closed on Fridays, right?
That's correct. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're closed.
Okay.
No.
One question on streetlights.
Yes.
Go ahead,
Um,
Jeff.
Well, I noticed in Waterville, the fusible links they're putting in, they're just hanging. I think we need to address something of how they can better attach them either to the streetlight themselves or the pole or whatever. Because with the wind we get, you're gonna have that small number 12 wire going to the streetlight itself with that fusible link hanging off, and I feel we're gonna have a bunch of those break off.
I guess we'd have to address it either. I don't know if we should address that, Mike, to Wiswell, or should we go right to the gentleman that's providing the lights?
Yeah, we'll go right to the company
Okay.
and mention that to them. I'll assume they've had experience with that in other communities. So we can question, has it been an issue? Is Wiswell doing it differently than it's been done in other communities? So Jeff, we can ask those questions.
Yeah, it's something just being in the business that I've seen happen to some of our stuff over time. The connections actually just break where the wire goes into the connection.
Okay, good to know.
That's all.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, back to Paul. Have we had any storm damage over the weekend?
Not that
With the
much,
wind?
not that I'm aware of, Jerry. I haven't heard anything, haven't heard any call outs. Haven't heard anything from the fire department or PD, so I don't think we got any damage. Not that I've seen or heard.
I'm all set,
Okay, let's
Ray.
move- Okay,
Through the chair,
Steve, did you have something?
yes, please, through the chair to Paul.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
Paul, I was wondering, have you seen a corresponding drop in the price of asphalt with the price of the barrel of oil going down so much? And wondering if we were going to be able to stretch our pavement dollars this year or not?
I haven't seen any drop in prices. I mean, the percentage of asphalt in a ton of mix is only about 6.5%. So even though the price of asphalt goes down, it's not a significant portion.
Because it seems like in the past, whenever a price of a barrel of oil went up to like $100, it really cut into our paving budget. And I was just
Yeah,
wondering if we,
It did, and I think in this case, I'm going to assume paving contractors are already committed for the season with asphalt.
yeah,
So probably not going to see a big significant savings. And we got some decent prices. Pike is our paver this year, and you know their prices are fair. So you know we're gonna do just what was originally budgeted. You know, as people are probably not aware of, we're not going to be doing those 12 extra streets that had originally been proposed because you guys cut the money out of the budget. So people should be aware that we're not going to be going to those streets. So.
thank you.
Ray, back to Paul. When are they gonna start on Clinton Avenue?
I was out there last week with the guys from Pike and from our engineer in Fairfield. I'm gonna guess sometime probably early June that we'll be out there milling and shimming so that we can get rid of the water problems. That's my best guess right now.
Yeah, Paul, this is Reagan. And Mike, if you could chime in. My understanding of the streets that was about $200,000. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I thought that, we had talked about doing a 3-year bond of around $2 to $2.5 million, and that we were going to take that 200,000 out of that bond that we would do in August, or at that point in time, and then we would still get those streets done this year. Was I wrong on that, or is that what we had planned?
No, we did talk about that. However, in the meantime, we were notified that we're not going to be getting the amount of municipal revenue sharing that we was originally projected. And so we're not going to find out what that's going to be until July or August. And so I think it would be at that time, once we know what our revenues are, and I'm anticipating we're going to have to make some cuts in the existing budget. I'm anticipating we're going to have to go back and amend the budget in response to the reduction in revenues. So the question would be at that time, would we be able to find the money for a bond payment?
So as far as right now, we're not doing those additional overlay streets.
That's correct.
Okay, but there might be, depending on what we get for revenue, and everything, we might be able, we just gotta wait. It's just prudent to wait. Is that your thought on that?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Okay, let's start. If there's no more questions for Paul, then Sean, Police Department.
Good evening, everybody. Just a couple things. We have had a command continuity schedule, which will end this Friday. Starting next Monday, both Captain Fleming and I will be in the office along with Teresa Brown. So we're going to be back to a normal schedule, and I'm very glad to do that. Working from home has been very difficult because I do miss being at the office, as Captain Fleming also. If you've probably noticed that there is more traffic in Winslow and throughout the surrounding areas. People are venturing out opposed to when COVID-19 first came out. With that, we've been getting more speeding complaints. So the officers are going to be increasing their presence and stopping more vehicles because what we've seen is a increase in the speeds themselves, which is very concerning to us. So we're going to be being proactive with speeding complaints, even though because we're not going to be focusing on registrations and inspections because the governor has extended those. So that's about it. Regarding supplies, we are doing very well, but morale's good, especially now that we have warmer weather, as long as Paul stops having the snow come. We're doing really well.
I have a question.
Yes.
It was on Facebook Live, actually. There was a complaint about some speed on Whipple Street and Halifax Street through the 25 zone. I don't know if you're aware of that, but they're asking about speed bumps or something. And were there ever speed bumps go on that area?
Yes. So over the several years, is some of the residents have indicated a uptake in speed. However, every year, once or twice, we deploy what we have, what's called a Black Cat traffic device. And there is not a lot there. It's not a high law enforcement street. However, we still want to make that street safe and slow. So in the past, we've asked Paul to deploy the speed bumps, and we've been waiting for better weather. And I planned on talking to Paul this week anyways on deploying the speed bumps. In addition to that, we're also deploying the sign trailer on Whipple Street. Halifax, we will deploy the Black Cat device after we put it on Cushman. It's currently on Cushman right now because we've had some complaints there. And again, I think this is a pretty, it's relevant to the lack of our operational tempo. Not a lot of people on the streets. We didn't want to do proactive police work on, stopping vehicles for speed, not only for the safety of the public, but also the safety of the officers. But that's the plan for Whipple Street.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Sean? If not, fire department, Ron?
Well, good evening. Fire department, we're doing really well. We're rocking and rolling, staying on course. I just spoke, got off the phone with our rep from Pierce, and both the engine and the Quint have come out of the engineering phase, and they should start building the chassis for the engine. They're kind of delayed because of the COVID effect. But they will be beginning the chassis build on the engine in late June, they said, which is a little bit beyond what we are hoping, but it's beyond our control. We're investigating alternative means for getting PPE for the COVID preparedness. We have several avenues. We're applying for as a mutual aid agreement, well, not a mutual aid agreement, but joining the other mutual aid departments for applying for a regional grant. That's what I was trying to say. Getting regional grant for some safety PPE, and we're tracking our expenses as they relate to COVID, so we get reimbursed. We haven't really spent too much with regards to the pandemic, and but the spirits are high, and we're doing pretty good. And we're open for any questions.
Any questions for Ron at this point?
Yes. On the PPE, what does that include?
Well, there's the N95s. We also purchased the P100 half face shield masks that are a lot easier to decon, and they're more they're reusable as opposed to the N95s. That the cost effectiveness of the N95 is I don't think it's there. I think it's better to do the P100 with the replaceable cartridges, and then we can use those once the pandemic fades away. We can still use those half face pieces for if we're on a suppression incident, we're doing incident overhaul, and we can use those as opposed to wearing the SCBA, and we're still covered. But it also includes gloves, Tyvek suits. We have plenty of Tyvek suits, and then surgical gowns.
How about booties?
Well, the Tyvek suits are all encompassing. They're an encompassed suit.
Yeah. That's it.
Any other questions for Ron? If not, thank you very much, Ron. If not,
You're welcome.
Adam, are you in for codes tonight?
Hi,
How
Ray.
about
Thanks for
Judy
having me.
for assessment? Oh, sorry, Adam. Yep, no problem.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me. It's going very smoothly right now. You know, besides from being open to the public, things are going quite normal. We've got quite a few permits going through. We have an ordinance change request that I think I'm going to talk about a little later on down the agenda. And we're going to attempt a planning board meeting for the first time in about 6 months, June 1st. So we're kind of looking forward to that. We'll be social distancing. We've got the rec center to help spread us out, and we'll keep an eye on the number of participants there. But I think it should be just fine. Besides that, yeah, things are going good. Very good.
That's actually a good thought, Adam. Mike, do we have any tentative plans to get back to some type of a regular council meeting?
Yeah, so I'm anticipating that on June 1st, the governor is going to open things up. And at that point, Ray, I thought we could begin the discussion about having our June council meeting, perhaps even in the Parks and Rec department where we can get more spacing. That's my biggest concern right now is, as you know, the council chambers is tight quarters. And so I do intend to begin the process of working through that and planning for that.
Okay. Thank you, Adam.
Adam.
Any questions
Adam.
for Adam?
I got one. What about the new business on Bay Street? Is that still held up because of permits?
Which business is that?
Used to be the lobster trap.
Yeah, they're still doing renovations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, permits are not holding them up.
Mike, when
Go ahead,
we
Trish.
look at doing our meeting in the Parks and Rec area, can I still host the Facebook Live down there? Will we still have Wi-Fi? Because I don't know if we want to discuss it. It's been very popular, and a lot of people have liked logging in and viewing it. And we have a couple questions here about it, so I didn't know.
Trish, I'm okay with that. One of the things I do want to try to work out as far as the logistics, there may be some folks, perhaps council members even, that might still be uncomfortable in meeting in a group setting like that with the public. So I am going to work through and think through how we might be able to do a combination of meeting in person and perhaps having one or two or three council members zooming in. And I'm hopeful that we can still have the resources to be able to do the Facebook Live.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the other counselors are feeling about it, but it's been really popular, and I would really like to continue it. I'm actually an admin on our Winslow Facebook page. I never respond to any messages, Tanya and Lisa. I never respond to anything, but I like posting on it, and I think it's a really awesome tool for transparency.
I'll have to back you on that one. I've heard a lot of positive comments of people that won't go to a meeting, but they will watch it on Facebook Live.
Yeah, we have 25 people watching right now.
Yeah, I think, Trish, that's been just a very positive situation, especially in the wintertime, especially at 7 o'clock at night where, people don't want to sometimes travel at bad weather. I think anytime as the population gets a little older, anybody we reach, especially even 25 at tonight, is more than what we usually have at the council meeting. So, and I think once the word gets out, it's been popular. I believe it will become even more popular for the future. So I think that's been a very positive, and the more people we can reach, the better off we can.
And I just have one follow-up question to Paul. Somebody asked about the Morrill Road. Is that on the schedule to be fixed this year or next, or is there any work that's going to be done on that?
Right now, it's not on this year's schedule. It's only going to probably be next year if you guys decide to borrow some money.
Okay.
And that's where, I know that's where that we're going to have to make a decision depending on the finances that we talked about earlier in this meeting of, we had planned on trying to get caught up by taking that $2.5 million bond out exclusively for roads. And, we're behind on roads. Roads were a big issue. They're a big issue. And we're going to have to address the roads no matter what financial situations that we're in, because we're falling behind even further and further. So that's going to be hopefully the news in August or September, that we can hopefully get back to some type of revenue sharing, some type of income tax type of situation where it's not devastating the towns. And I think that's going to be critical, those numbers, and moving forward and making decisions in August and September, that we really have to do something.
I definitely agree. I think that we need to consider the livelihood of everyone in Winslow that's been affected by everything going on and the unemployment rate. So moving forward, not being too aggressive with taking out bonds and, paying for a massive amount of improvements on things. There's a fine line that we really need to be careful of moving forward.
I think once we get the figures. Go ahead, Ben.
I got a question on that June thing. If we can work that out for a meeting there, will that also set up for a public hearing situation?
If there's something on the agenda that requires a public hearing, yes.
Okay, that's all I want.
For the chair, I got a question for Adam.
Go ahead, Lee.
Adam, where do things stand with the 2-cent business splits good?
Where It's a Good was?
Yeah, 2-cent pub or whatever it's called.
As far as I know, they're still working on renovations. Yeah,
Okay.
I haven't been called for any final inspections, so
Okay.
that's where we're at now.
All right. All set with permitting?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
welcome.
Okay, just moving forward, one of the things I forgot just a little while ago is we had discussed revenue sharing, and then we had discussed subsidies that are coming in. What I'd like to do before I go to Peter in the school system, I'd like to give our representative, District 78, Catherine Nadeau, a chance to speak about some of the things that are happening in Augusta at this point in time. And Kathy, are you there? Catherine Nadeau, are you there? Well, we'll move on. I see her on the list, but she's not making verbal contact. Peter Tivitot, are you on tonight?
Yes, I am. Thank you for the opportunity to give you a quick update on what's happening in our schools. We continue with a variety of things. People are working extremely hard to make a go of things during these times. I want to give a shout out again to all of the kitchen cafeteria workers, the bus drivers, teachers, ed techs, custodians. We have a whole slew of people who are working on a rotational basis to prepare and load and serve meals to our students 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. 8 buses roll. We serve over 3,000 meals to our kids each day in the community. So it's just a huge effort to make sure that that's happening for our students and make sure that hunger isn't an issue. In addition to that, obviously, we have teachers who are working extremely hard with remote learning. And I know all of you are probably tired of these types of meetings, but this is the world that we've turned to at this point with our teaching staff, whether they're meeting to do planning, whether they're reaching out to kids and checking on families, whether they're delivering a message. Everything that they're doing right now is remote learning. And we're inventing the plane, building the plane as we fly it, because no one didn't anticipate this, of course, to happen this year. Our last day with students is going to be June 5th. That's going to be the last day of the remote learning. At that point, teachers will continue with professional development in anticipation of what's to come. And when I say that, we don't know what the fall is going to look like. I mean, right now there's a task force that's working at the State Department to have conversations about any type of summer activity, to have conversations about what graduation may or may not look like, depending on CDC recommendations, and having conversations about what next fall could look like. So all of that is up in the air. So we need to plan for whatever a variety of scenarios that could be presented to us. We also have the normal things that are happening. We still have to do some closures of the school without having the students be able to be there. It becomes difficult because teachers need to come in on a rotational basis because we need to socially distance in order to prepare their classrooms for summer cleaning. Of course, we have a beautiful new facility that the junior high teachers need to move out of the existing junior high and plan to move into the new facility. So we have a lot of things that we need to plan for, and we have a lot going on amongst everything else that's happening. And speaking of the junior high, just a quick update. We are ahead of progress. Things are going exceptionally well. If you get a chance to visit the central office website or the website at the junior high, you'll see the most recent updates with pictures and how well progress is coming. Knock on wood, I don't want to jinx us, but because things are going so well, we've been able to save some money out of the budget with some of this bond money. We had 2 major roof repairs scheduled to be done out of this year's budget, which is the high school roof repair and the elementary school roof repair. We strongly feel that we are ahead of schedule, and we're going to be able to use some of that bond money to be able to do those 2 repairs and not put that in the local budget. Those are 2 of the things that we cut out of that budget. The other thing is a real safety issue, and it's an awning for the elementary school. Safety in that it's very slippery, dangerous for people to come in and out during the wintertime. With this awning, we'll be able to make it a safer entryway, and also it'll be better for our structure in general because we won't be pulling in all of the sand and the salt and everything else and the water rusting the entryway doors, which need to be replaced. That too will be something that comes out of the bond because we feel we're going to have enough left over to take care of that as well. And that will pretty much take care of any additional bond monies that we might have. So we're very pleased with that. That's it.
Peter, where's the awning going to go? Into the gym entrance?
Yes.
Peter, are you looking for any volunteers to help you with like food prep or anything like that?
Thank you, Trish. We have a really strong crew. That's a pretty consistent crew at this particular point in time. So I think we're all set for now. But thank you.
Peter,
Peter.
have you received any donations from any businesses for
We
the lunches and whatnot?
we have had an incredible outpouring of support from our community, where they have given donations, and we've established an account that we're putting these donations in, and the amounts are different from different people, obviously, but we're around $4,000 at this point in time, probably a little bit more. And basically what that's for, what that's going to be used for, is to help families who are struggling, who have some needs as a result of all this. The first priority, and this is something many people don't know, but the first priority will be to replenish our food closets at the various schools, because those food closets are there for throughout the year for folks. And so when students feel a need that they need to go to that, into the food closet and get some food for the weekend or for an evening or whatever, that food is there for our families. And we have been issuing this food along with the other food that's going out. So that money will replenish those closets.
The reason I asked, I saw several of the kids today walking back to their homes, and they had a local company's paper bags. So I didn't know if the bags were being supplied by other companies or if it's something they just happened to bring home and it was bring from their home down to the bus stop. And
yep,
they just happened to have two different families that had the same bag.
Right. Well, that's another great point, Jeff. We have local companies who are donating bags for this cause, because when you distribute the food to the students, they have 2 days of breakfast and 2 days of lunch packed in one bag, and then you have milk that accompanies that. And so they need something to put this in to bring it home. So we've had McDonald's has stepped up. They've given us some bags in order to do that. We've had other vendors, other companies, local merchants that have stepped up to give us bags in order to make that happen. It's just been an incredible effort on the part of the community to support our schools and the families. It's been wonderful to see.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter.
You're very welcome.
Peter.
Yes.
When are you looking at opening, transferring the 7th and 8th over to the, we'll call it to the high school junior, the new junior high?
I'm sorry, Ben, I didn't quite catch that. When am I looking to do what?
When are we looking to start moving into the new junior high?
I see. So that's a tough question, Jerry, because what's happening right now is, what we're looking at, you have to pack up rooms from the old junior high, and then all of that material needs to be brought over to the new wing and then be unpacked. So what's happening now is the finishing touches are going on at the new junior high and the new wing, last coats of paint, etc. So once that's happened, one of the things that we and Shelley Phillips has been instrumental with this, there needs to be a thorough cleaning of that whole new area. And rather than use the contracted services through Ledgewood, we felt we could do it at a lesser expense through our substitute lines and our sub-custodial lines, because we haven't used the sub-custodians during the shutdown. So this is another way for us to save money and be able to make that happen using our own staff and our subs. So once that happens, and that'll be, this spring, we can start moving things, and so that we will be ready to go in the fall if we're allowed to go. So in terms of an exact date, we are on schedule, Jerry, if that's really what you're asking. And if we're allowed to get in there in the fall, we should be ready to go.
So in the fall, does that mean after school has opened? late summer.
I'm sorry,
Is that after school is open or late summer?
by late summer, we should have everything in there and ready to go.
Peter, could you,
Yep, I'm sorry.
Peter, for the summer programs, are they still a go? Or it's still pretty much up in the air? I know you have,
Everything is absolutely up in the air at this point, Ray. The state has put a task force together to discuss summer programming, to discuss graduation, and to discuss the opening of schools in the fall. So there's been some guidance with graduation per se, where they are limiting the number of people in an area to, June 1st to 50, no more than 50. So there's been some guidance in that area. But in terms of summer programming, we are still waiting to hear what we will or won't be able to do.
yeah. Does anybody else have any questions for Peter at this time?
Kathy?
Yeah.
Kathy, you're gonna need to turn the volume down on the
Yeah.
computer. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I do have Kathy on the phone, and what I've got her on speakerphone, so we're gonna attempt, if you would like, to have her present to the council through my connection.
Yep, go ahead, Mike, if that would be fine.
Okay, Kathy, you're on.
Yes, yes. Okay, thank you. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to share this update. Since I started on this, when you asked me to join your meeting a week ago, there's been 3 updates. I want to tell you that I know that we're all facing this difficult time for local officials. I also want you to know that I am a strong advocate for municipal revenue sharing. So at this point in time, I'd like to tell you that I, with a bunch of other representatives, some who are mayors, most of them are mayors or town managers, have put a letter together, and we're going to submit it to the leaders at the state level to say that we would like the municipal revenue sharing because of this bumped up to 5%, and we won't accept anything other than that. So we have a strong letter going in. But as of tonight, Senator King and the main delegation will also be introducing a bill next week to help with the lack of revenue going to each of our towns. So that being said, the news that Maine has reserves to help the state navigate this crisis. But what we have to do is we have to send a strong message to say that we as a town, we as all our towns in the state of Maine have to send a message too. Senator King is leading that off in Washington, and Mayor Tom Harnett, Mayor Mike Brennan, myself, and some other municipal people are going to be introducing this letter on the state level. So I just want to let you know that where I fight for municipal revenue sharing and always have, I am continuing that battle via phone in this case, but I will always fight for municipal revenue sharing. That being said, on the national level, there are some indications that the school will be reimbursed for some of the money that they're losing also, back on the national level. So I just needed to let you know all this. I'm sorry that I'm having difficulties. I think my airplane mode is stuck, and I'm stuck on airplane mode, so I can't speak. So I want to apologize for that. I want to thank you all. Just know that we can fight, and we are fighting. And I just wanted to know if you have any questions, just I'm right here. If I can answer anything, I can try.
Does anybody have any questions? Thank you, Kathy. Does anybody have any questions for Kathy at this time? Thank you very much, Kath, for coming on. Moving on now, if we could, we'll go right into Amanda. Yeah, thank you. Amanda? Park and Rec?
Hi. So we're kind of in a holding pattern with a lot of things. You know, I've delayed starting for most of our programming till after the 4th of July, and we're just waiting for guidelines. We have a lot of estimating of what the guidelines might look like, but until we really know what those are, we can't really make a lot of decisions. I'm anxious to get started. As Peter mentioned, we don't really have guidance on the summer and the school usage. Even if we are allowed to use the school, what are the guidance going to be for camps? Can multiple programs be in the same building? So we're really just waiting for the information to come through. We have started mowing this week. We started with the schools and we'll be hitting a lot of the fields. We got all the water turned on at all the parks. Currently the playgrounds, courts are all still closed. I'm anticipating some of those starting to open up next month, but again, waiting for guidance on what we would need to do to safely do that. So that's Parks and Rec right now.
Anybody have any questions for Amanda?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Lee.
Amanda, just curious where things stand for the Veteran Banner program.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm sorry, my dog's squeaking a toy. He has been quiet all night. Hang on. Currently, we are kind of in a holding pattern with that, with having to delay staffing. We haven't been able to meet as a group, and part of my big push was to fundraise from local businesses for the holders. I didn't feel like that was appropriate with the current climate of things going on. On top of that, we received notification from CMP that it looks like we may now, something that was supposed to be free and I've already gotten approval for, may have a cost to it. And so I'm looking for clarification from CMP on that, because my goal with the program was not to have veterans pay a high amount of money for the flags. And so as I try to weed through that and we go through this pandemic, I've kind of had to put that a little bit on hold, just trying to be sensitive to everything the community is going through.
Thank you, Amanda.
Any other questions for Amanda? If not, moving on, Lisa, the public library.
Hi, everyone. So we've been able to keep fairly busy, the library staff. We had over 1,100 people tune in to our online programming in April. We've been recording story hours. We've had some live workshops. For example, Sasha Fitzpatrick did her financial workshops online so that people could still participate in that. We have a requirement for our library consortium to review and delete patron records who haven't been active in 2 years. So that didn't get done apparently last year. So we did that this year, and we pulled about 800 patron records that hadn't been used in 2 years or more. So right now we have 2,200 approximately active patron records now. And those have all been active in the last 2 years. So I'm going to make sure that we do that every year, and so we won't have so many pulled every year like we did this year. We've been answering patron emails, phone calls, posts on our YouTube, our social networking site. We've been doing things like we've already done 2 book orders, so we're cataloging and processing those so that when we start curbside pickup again, we'll have a lot of new books for our patrons to borrow. Just a lot of reports, payroll, administrative stuff. We've been sitting in on a lot of Main Library Association Zoom meetings, trying to keep up with all the current recommendations and, trying to establish plans for how we can go forward. We're going to start curbside pickup again on Monday, the 18th, which means the staff will be working from the building and patrons will be able to email us or call. We will get materials ready for them, check them out, and then they'll come and pick them up. And so people will be able to get books and videos again, which is, we've heard a lot of feedback about that. We have a lot of patrons who are chomping at the bit to get access to materials again. So we're very happy about that. We've done newsletters. We're all caught up on our safety training. The ladies have been updating their main state library certification. They're required to do a certain amount of training every year to keep that up to date. The ladies have gone and done all their certificate training so that we don't have to worry about that for the rest of the year. God, I got a very long list here, sorry. Let's see. Just figuring out in the beginning how to do provide online programming and how to provide a certain amount of services from home. Took up some of our time in the first few weeks. Let's see what else. Been updating and reviewing policies, putting them together in one standard manual that has a searchable table of contents. I've been reviewing our job descriptions. The American with Disabilities Act changed a few years ago, and there are some things that you have to add to your job descriptions that aren't in our job description. So I've been, reformatting that and putting those bits and pieces in. Obviously, I'll run those by Mike and Tanya once I get those updated. But we're doing a lot of ordering and preparing so that when the time comes, we can start limited access to the actual physical building of the library for our patrons. Trying to figure out, how we can do that safely and protect our patrons and our staff. So we've been busy. Oh, and just a reminder, this is the last month that Brenda Wilson will be working for the library. She's retiring after almost 20 years working for the library. So we're going to hate to see her go, and the patrons will miss her, but she's looking forward to retirement.
Does anybody have any questions for Lisa? Thank you.
Anything?
Does no questions? Okay, thank you very much, Lisa.
Have a great one.
Yeah, I think, did we do assessing? Judy, are you still there?
I am still here. You saved the best for last. Just kidding. I'll keep it short and sweet unless people have questions, because I've already passed my report out for the month. I think I have found a good workflow balance between working from home and in the office. And one of the things that Adam and I have done pretty much is I've come in early in the morning and he's come in around noontime and worked through the afternoons so that we're avoiding contact to some degree. One of the things I'm doing different this year is contacting the people that need inspections. And I'm actually calling them ahead and telling them to look for the red car because that's what I drive, and I'll be taking photos, and I've asked them questions and they've been really good about getting back to me and very appreciative about not knocking on their door, so to speak. So that's worked very well. Adam and I have also discussed how to plan our reopening in our office. As you know, Bet's been out for some time and I don't know when she will be ready to come back. Quite honestly, she's waiting for some surgery. I did speak with her a little while ago, and she says to say hello to everybody, and she misses everyone very, very much, but she's hanging in there. So yeah, Adam and I have been working on how to plan the reopening and how we feel the traffic could come in. We'll have the spit guard, so to speak, hanging there or sitting there on the counter. And we're hoping that if we do it right, it will work well. We still have traffic that will be coming into the kitchen, but I think we're all common sense and conscientious enough that it's all going to work well. And I look forward to literally being back in the office full time. There's a lot of work stacking up for data entry, but it will get done. And I've gone in on a Saturday, and that's very productive because I'm the only one there. So it's all working. It's fine, unless people have questions. That's all.
Office, how are things working out as far as traffic flow and what's the plans for the future there?
Is that for me, Ray?
No, that's for Lisa. Yes.
We still aren't open to the public as of right now, but we're preparing for that time. It's expected that it would be June 1st, but we're still waiting to hear on that for certain. Mike has spoken with the company to install plexiglass in the collections office so that the clerks working will feel safe in their area and as well for the residents as they come in. I think that's probably our most important part of it. We first started with only having clerks in the collections office twice a week. It got busier, so we expanded to one clerk 3 days a week. And now we've moved all the way up to the office is staffed by one clerk Monday through Friday. They're getting a lot more traffic as far as phone calls, emails, and regular mail that's coming in. I know the ladies have worked really well with the residents trying to get marriage licenses done during this time and motor vehicle registrations and votes and trying to keep up with everything that they can. And they've done a wonderful job and the residents have been fantastic. The only other thing that I have is the elections are coming up. It's going to be July 14th. Basically, like others have said, I'm waiting to hear the guidelines from the Secretary of State's office. I know that this is going to be a big undertaking for them so that, that we can put on a safe election for our workers and for the residents as they come into the building. And of course, encouraging absentee voting as much as possible. That's it for me.
Have there been a lot?
I hear you. Does anybody have any questions for Judy?
I have a question for Lisa.
I mean, Lisa, I'm sorry. Go
Have
ahead.
there been a lot of marriage licenses?
Yeah, marriage licenses.
People are handling this quarantine really well then, right?
They are. Love does not stop.
Ew, gross.
Love is in the air. But yeah, they've had several of those. Yeah.
If there's no further questions, we'll move on in the agenda. Financial committee report, treasurer's warrants, and the financial report. Lisa, how do you want to handle that? Do you want to do a roll call on approval?
I will, if possible. Jeff West. I know he's here.
Yes.
There he is. Hi, Jeff. Steve Russell.
Yeah.
Trisha Ayer.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I'm doing let's cancel what I was just doing. I was doing the roll call for all the department reports. Sorry. For the finance committee, it is Steve Russell.
Yes.
Trisha Ayer.
Yes.
Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
I guess we'll step back one step and can I have a motion to approve all department reports as a whole, please?
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Jerry, seconded by Ben. Lisa, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Now I have the right one. Jeff West.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yes.
Trisha Ayer.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
And Ray Karen.
Yes.
Perfect. All approved.
Okay, let's just move on into table business. Resolution 25-2019, providing for the authorization for the town manager to accept the attached proposal, letter or agreement from Dirico Engineering to design a drainage system for property on the Cushman Road at a cost of $14,000. If that, just to inform councilors, that was the property on the Cushman Road. There's about 7 or 8 homes that are being flooded, not flooded, but there's drainage that's happening in the back of their lots. And we were looking at perhaps putting a drainage system in there to help with the property owners. And if I'm wrong, Paul, let me know, but the DEP classified that area as, I don't know if it's a wetland or an active stream But Paul, could you comment on that? I believe it needs to be tabled so that, and it's not a high priority. I believe it should be tabled. Paul, could you, or Mike, could you chime in on that, please?
That's correct, Ray. DEP classified the section that was in the wooded part as a stream, which means at that point, trying to do anything with it is pretty much almost impossible. So I believe at this point, it's probably something that's not going to happen anytime soon or for not a whole lot of money, that's for sure. It'd be expensive.
Yeah, and considering that 90% of that comes from a culvert, it seems like the classified as a stream to me was like, I don't know, it just seemed like a bit bizarre, but we're gonna keep that tabled if it's okay with the rest of the councilors.
Works for me.
Okay, sounds good.
Ray.
Yeah.
It's me.
Okay. Ordinance number 1-220. This was tabled to the June 8th, 2000 council meeting, providing for an amendment, chapter 14, article 6, general performance standards by adding 9 in the language to the section 14. Mike, can you comment? It's about this sign, this temporary sign ordinance that we put in so that some nonprofits could actually have a sign or some type of information on a private property that was in agreement that they should put a temporary sign there for an organization or event. Mike, could you comment on that, please?
Yes, no, Ray, you're absolutely right. It's basically adding the ability for not-for-profit organizations to advertise their events and using a temporary sign.
Now, is this, you said was this tabled till June, you said, right?
Yeah, it was tabled to the June 8th, 2000 council meeting. That's when we think we can get back into session,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but, I'm open for any suggestions. These are just, we can take it off the table, put it on. It's not really an emergency situation, or it's something that we can discuss in the future.
Mr.
I
Chairman?
would recommend that we keep it tabled. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to say, we can't discuss it tonight because we didn't advertise. So
Okay.
we have to advertise before it can be put on the agenda and become a discussion item.
Okay, sounds good. So it's tabled. Starting in now with old business. Ordinance number 2-220, providing an amendment to ordinance number 8-216, personal rules and regulation for town employees by replacing Appendix C with the attached Appendix C.
So move.
And what is your pleasure, please?
So move.
Second.
Okay, can I have open up for discussion? Mike, would you like to just refresh our memories on this ordinance?
Yep, this is an update to the town's workplace harassment policy so that it's consistent with state law.
Any discussion? If no further discussion, Lisa, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, we can. Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Tricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian, Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes. Yes.
So ordinance number 2-220 passes 7-0.
Order number 3-220, providing for the approval of the town of Winslow 2020-2021 fiscal budget series in the amount of $25,958,881 to establish a tax due date and interest rate on taxes remaining unpaid. This is the second reading.
So move.
2020-2021 budget, which sets the tax rate at this present time at 0.0 mill rate increase. Let's open it up for the, we have a motion to open. Do I have a second?
Second,
Okay. And discussion,
No.
please. Any questions or anybody want to add any comments?
well, they already mentioned, Mr. Tivitot mentioned that they're gonna have to redo this anyway because of the amount of school budget.
Mike, did you want to address?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may. So we had asked the school department to come back with a budget for local share, not more than 360,000. They actually came back with a local share budget of 353,058.20. So to be consistent with what the school board has approved, we'll need to amend the education expenditure in our budget and proposed budget. That needs to be amended to 16,880,575.36.
And I'll put in that amendment for that amount.
Second.
What was that figure again, Mike? 16 what?
16,880,575.36.
Ray, you're on mute.
Oh,
Now
I
you're
shouldn't
out.
be. Okay, sorry about that. If we have an amendment, can I have, we've had discussion. Can I have, if we're done discussion, can I have Lisa, can I have a roll call vote on the amendment, please?
Yes, Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yeah.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes,
Gary Querian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes, the amendment passed. Oops, sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
That's okay. The amendment to the motion passes 7-0.
Okay, going back now to the order number 3-220, amended version that you will put in there. Let's open it up for discussion again, please. I have a motion to open discussion.
So moved.
It's already on the floor.
Okay, open up discussion again on order 3-220. Yes, you're right. So open up discussion now after approval of the amendment. Are there any discussion on that?
Well, no, it's all we're gonna do is drop 7,000 off that 25,958,881, right?
That's correct. If there is no discussion, Lisa, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yeah.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
yes,
Gary Querian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
and order number 3-2020 passes 7-0.
Order number 4-220, providing for authorization for the town manager to proceed with the proposed upgrades to Jeffrey Brook Pump Station totaling $5 million. Can I have a motion to open discussion? And the motion is open for discussion. We discussed this last year. Mike, could you give us, or Paul, could you give us just, again, another quick summary of what that project would entail?
Yes, right. Basically, what that entails is a fairly major rebuild of that pump station that was built in '73. It would include a lot of electrical work, upgrading the pumps. We actually have capacity across the river at KSTD that we are not able to access right now because the line crossing the river is only a 12-inch line. So part of the project would be to run a second line across the river, a larger line, so we can take advantage of the capacity that we do own over there instead of having possible overflows into the river, which we've had on some wet weather occasions. So all in all, it's a fairly large project, and the second line would be a safety factor. Right now, we only have one, so if it fails, scrambling to find an alternative, so we'd probably end up paying fines and violations. So I believe it's a good project going forward. It should give us peace of mind for another 30 or 40 years.
And I have a question for Mike on this. Do we have any figures yet on grants or low interest loans?
No, we don't. We're still waiting on the USDA to provide us with that information.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other questions on the Chaffee Brook issue?
Where do the monies come out of right now without any grants or anything? For the 5 million?
Right now, we're using sewer surplus and capital funds. So that will be replenished once we get our loan.
Thank you.
And Paul, the main line, we had a failure in it, and that's no longer usable or repairable. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. When that failed back, I believe in 1998, a chunk of that pipe actually disappeared. So there's only sections left in the river. So that's why it was replaced with a smaller line than what was originally there, because the time factor was just such that, they found what they could find short notice and put it in. So it's lasted going on 20 years now. So it's not a bad deal. It's just a little small.
Yep. Okay. Any other further questions on order number 4-220? If there is no discussion, Lisa, could we have a roll call on order 4-220, please?
West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Gary Quirian, Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Order number 4-2020 passes 7-0.
Order number 5-220, providing for an amendment to order number 19-2019 by increasing the engineering cost by $70,998 to $175,000. Can I have a motion to open discussion, please?
So move.
Second.
So moved.
Open discussion. Mike, I believe this is the Benton Avenue. Could you comment on that, please?
Sure, yes. So originally, we had grouped together the Chaffee Brook project, sewer project, and the Benton Avenue sewer project. However, the USDA suggested that we separate those out, that it wouldn't be practical to put those two together. So in doing that, that just basically increased our engineering costs. And so that's why the increase.
Is there any other further discussion? If no further discussion, Lisa, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian, Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Order number 5-2020 passes 7-0.
Moving on, order number 6-220, providing for authorization for the town manager to purchase 2 used ambulances and associated equipment at a cost of $204,400. Can I have a motion to open discussion, please?
So move.
Question first. Shouldn't
Yes.
this be amended already?
Yes.
Yes, it was amended.
And I have it marked on the original order that the amended order number 6-2020 is to authorize the town manager to purchase one used ambulance with associated equipment, a valid inspection sticker with a total cost of purchase not to exceed $85,000.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yep, and I think it appears on your copy, but down towards the bottom.
Yes, it does.
Great.
I'd like to propose an amendment that since I've had to this order, since I had some people ask for a public hearing before we purchased an ambulance. So my thing would be that a public hearing has to be held prior to purchasing of an ambulance.
Jerry has proposed an amendment. Jerry, could you just, that a public hearing be held prior to
Purchasing of a used ambulance within the next 6 months.
Mike, is that possible? Can you amend something and ask for a public hearing?
An order doesn't need a public hearing.
Yeah, that's what I'm confused about.
Yeah, public hearing is not required. And I'm assuming what Jerry is asking for is to not pass it until there's been a public hearing. But again, a public hearing is not required.
Right, then he can vote no. We're not going to amend an order and require a public hearing. That's not, we've never done that. There's not even we've never done it. So no.
Jerry has a motion. Is there a second to his motion
I
about a
second
public
it.
hearing?
I second it.
Second. So right now we have a motion that a public hearing should be held, and then an amendment. So we'll open up for discussion, I guess, on the amendment at this
Well,
point in
the thing
time.
is, it was brought up earlier, Ray, that if we're able to open things up on the June council meeting, it'll be a perfect opportunity to let the public speak their minds and take that vote that night instead of tonight. I know, Tish, we've been at it for 18 months.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna try really hard to filter what I'm saying right now. Amending this to have a public hearing is ridiculous. There have been numerous ways that people can bring forward their questions, their concerns, talk to the chief, talk to their counselor. I mean, it's just, this is hysterical at this point. It's funny. It's very funny at this point.
I'm glad you like.
I think it's, and this is, we're having a discussion here, obviously. I think that I would think that I would, if we wanted, if we feel that this, and I've always felt that at this point in time, that I would want to have a public hearing, but a hearing at a town council meeting where people could come in, or we could do that. I think amending this for a public hearing, I think I would rather be more in favor of myself, if people had reservations, is of tabling this issue for a month, and then letting, if we get back to some type of normal type of activity, if we feel that we haven't got the input that we have, then tabling it would give people another month to at least weigh in, and that people would be more apt to get over this and would pay more attention to this. So, if somebody, I would be more in favor of tabling it than to put an amendment that a public hearing needs to take place for
I
this.
agree, Ray. I agree, Ray.
If I may, Ray.
Well, the amendment's already on the table.
Right.
Yeah,
If I-
so
if I may,
amendment
Ray,
right now is to, the
So,
amendment
but
right
I have
now.
one question.
Yeah,
Now, so after this order, after we make whatever decision we do on this order, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more orders tonight to go over.
yep, yep.
So are we going to sit there and have public comment on all those orders as well? Because that's what you're saying right now.
if I
I'm
could,
not saying anything, I'm not saying about public comment. I am not, I am
I'm not
not
talking
doing-
you specifically, Ray. I'm talking in general terms.
yep,
if I could, Ray,
We've got order number 7, 2020, which is coming right up, is to spend $1.5 million. And we're worried about a public comment over spending $85,000.
if I could, Ray.
But
Go ahead,
the
Steve.
amendments on the floor, let's vote.
Yeah, just one, my concern is this. As far as I'm concerned, a lot of people have had a chance to weigh in. I know I've received a lot of emails, texts, and phone calls. And they've been running about approximately 5 to 1, wondering why we keep delaying this, that we need the ambulance, the service is gonna help the citizens, and the cost is very minimal. And so I've heard from the constituents, almost 5 to 1 in favor of this, and wondering why we keep postponing it.
We have comments right now on Facebook saying that we just need to vote and we need to just move on. And it's just mind blowing to me that we need to have that people out there don't think that their voice hasn't been heard and that this needs to go to public comment. That's just absolutely crazy to me.
Well, the Delta agreement has not been made yet. And really, without that, how can we go ahead with this?
Because you have time in between all of this for that agreement to finish up. It's not like we're gonna start transporting tomorrow.
Well, Mike mentioned the 1st of June. Mike mentioned the 1st of June, we'd have this done. That's the only reason I was going for this.
What I'm saying, Ben, is we're in the middle of May. We, at the very earliest that we could even think of transporting is gonna be almost into July.
Correct, but if we vote for that tonight, we got to push through with this 110%. And there's no holding back to wait for the agreement.
Ben, why do we
We
need
already
to?
have a backup service.
We
Mr.
don't need
Chairman,
to
if I
hold
may.
back.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, we have mutual aid agreements with other entities that can provide us the service that Delta can provide. Talking with Delta, it's my impression that they intend to have a mutual aid agreement with us. It's just a matter of finalizing that.
But you said that would be finalized by the 1st of June.
Yes, it could even be finalized before then.
But we don't have it now.
I have a template that I'm working on.
Yeah. Okay, we have a motion on the floor for public hearing to be had prior to approval of this. If there's no further discussion on this item particularly, at this point in time, Lisa, could you please do a roll call on the amendment for the right to have a public hearing prior to?
Jeff West,
No.
Steve Russell,
No,
Patricia Ayer,
No.
Lee Trahan,
No,
Jerry Querian,
Yes,
Ben Twitchell,
Ben, I think you're muted.
Yes,
thank you, and Ray Karen.
No, not for a
No,
public
you-
hearing.
The amendment fails 5-2.
And I'd like to make an amendment to this right now that for one more month that we table this issue for one more month, just to get the mutual aid agreements in, to get one more further down the line. I think it's an inevitable situation, but I think during this time, it's an important decision I make a motion to table for one more month till the June meeting.
I second.
You know, let's throw this out on the table, okay? Let's be very transparent with all of the emails that we've been receiving from Ken Fletcher and how he's been saying that we should be waiting. Okay, so you're letting someone who's not elected on the council right now have power over what we're doing right now.
You're
It is
putting power in the people's hands.
Ben, I'm not done talking. It's
Oh, sorry, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am.
It is absolutely ridiculous that we are still talking about this. Okay, and everyone here in this chat thinks it's absolutely ridiculous that we are tanking this and we are just waiting. We're just waiting and we need to vote. We need to move forward. I'm seriously concerned at the people here on the council that think this needs to wait out any longer and that there hasn't been enough public comment. I'm concerned for you.
Well, my concern is you see all these people talking on there. We don't see what you're seeing.
That's fine.
How
You
do we
can
know
log
it's
in to
there?
Facebook right now. You can log in at any time and you
Okay,
can
let's,
manager to get you that.
there's a motion on the floor. Let's get back. There's a motion on the floor. If there's no further discussion, the motion on the floor is a table to the June meeting. If Lisa, could you have a roll call vote on the, to table this until the June meeting, please?
Yes. Jeff West,
No.
Steve Russell,
No.
Patricia Ayer,
No.
Lee Trahan,
No.
Jerry Querian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
So the motion fails for the.
Okay, so after that, there's amendments, both amendments failed. So order number 6-220, providing for the authorization for the town manager, person one, use ambulance and associated equipment at a cost of not to exceed $85,000. Motion, the order is on the table. It's ready for a roll call vote, please.
We need a motion and a second on that to approve it.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Querian,
No.
Ben Twitchell,
No.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
So order number 6-2020 passes 5-2.
Okay,
Can I
moving on.
Can I just say something? I'm really disappointed, honestly. I'm very disappointed at how everyone's been acting about this. And I just am really disappointed. And I know a lot of people in the community are as well. And I think it's going to be very reflective in the upcoming elections.
I hope so.
What, Ben?
Well, let me just say something right here is, I think the councils, we've been in this town a long time. A lot of us have served on the council for a long time. A lot of us have been in the community, and we have our own opinions. We draw our own opinions, and no one, I can honestly say for myself, influences my opinion on anything. I vote the way I feel and the way I feel that my constituents feel and what I hear from them.
Yeah, it's
And,
not your opinion.
and I'm just saying, and I'm talking now, and I'm just saying that no one tells me how to vote. And if these are the feelings that I have, these are the feelings that I have, and this is how I voted. And that's just the way it is. And I've been in this community long enough. I've been involved with the fire department, with Delta, and a lot of other things. These are difficult decisions. And what we feel is our own personal situation. And that's just the way it is. And no one should feel guilty about how they vote, about how they feel, because this is the democracy that we're in.
No, but I think that people need to back up what they're saying. I completely agree, Ray. Just because you've been on the council for a lot longer than me doesn't disregard my opinion on how my constituents want me to vote. But the laughing, Ben, and the little remarks, and you think you're real funny, and it's not funny, okay?
I'm not funny, Tish. I'm not. I apologize if you think I was funny.
With an
I
R.
apologize.
And let's get back to and Trish, there's no one who respects everybody's decision on the council, in the mixture of the council and the differences of opinion on the council. There is nothing that in the way everybody votes and the way they feel, that's their own, and I respect that to the highest degree. And I think that's where all the council is coming from for the most part. And I hope that's where it is, and I'm sure that's what it is after working with everybody for a long time. And you know, we're gonna have it, you know, and that's just the way it is. It's not a personal thing, and I think those are just the way we feel on this situation. Now, when we move forward with this issue, we will work as hard to make this as successful. Once we voted now to move forward on this issue, that we will work, and everybody here will work extremely hard to make it successful. And no one's gonna undercut it or say, this is what, you know, we should have done or not done. When we're in public service and we run for these offices, we have a duty to whatever decision the council makes is to make this as successful as possible. And moving forward, I think we can. It's not a reflection of staff. It's not a reflection that we don't think we can do it. It's just that you know, maybe the pace, maybe some of the final details aren't in place that we feel should be in place. And that's just where we're moving forward now, and we're going to make it as successful as we can.
I understand.
Does anybody have any closing comments on this at this point?
I do have one thing, Ray, that I'd like to kind of point towards Mike. And, you know, we're gonna have revenues coming in and whatnot at some point when we get things rolling. Can we get a group together of 3, you know, maybe a couple of counselors, the fire chief, maybe a firefighter captain, and Mike, and go over how we're gonna take the revenues, where they're gonna go. I mean, I have my own personal opinions. I think it ought to be an enterprise account at the fire department itself. That way it's transparent. We know what money's going into that account. And, you know, the whole point of this is to offset the cost of running the fire department. And if it ends up in the general fund, it makes me nervous that if it ends up in the general fund, it's going to be spent other places.
I agree.
Yeah, so that's up to the council as far as forming a committee to make recommendations to the full council in regards to the structure of the finances, the budget, and so forth.
Okay, Mike, I'll call you tomorrow and you can walk me through that process so I'd like to start it up right off.
Okay, well,
or however we're gonna do it.
Okay, if Ray, as the chair, if you wanted to, you could begin the process.
Yep, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff, I think that's a great idea. I think anytime we do that, that'd be positive, and then we can report back through the council on the committee's work. I think that would be good. There'll be other questions that come up that perhaps a committee can handle at the same time. So I think that's a very positive. And Mike, at the next meeting, we'll have an agenda item for forming this committee.
Okay.
Thank you, Ray. Thanks, Mike.
Oh, you're very welcome. Okay. Let's move on. Order number 7-220, providing for authorization.
May I, excuse me, Ray, could we combine
Go ahead.
Order 7 and Order 8 together?
I need council approval.
I'd second
Jerry
that if that's a
wants to-
motion.
Yeah, that's a motion. So second, Lisa, can I have a roll call vote to combine order number 7-220 and order number 8-220, providing for authorization for a storm drainage replacement project on Lower Benton Avenue at a cost of $215,000. Combine that with providing for 7-220 authorization for a sewer line replacement project on Lower Benton Avenue at a cost of $1.5 million. Can I have a roll call vote on combining those two?
Yep, Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Gary Querian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
That passes 7-0.
And so let's have so the amendment passes 7-0. Let's have the combined roll call vote, please, on, or unless there's any questions about Order 7 and Order 8. If there's no discussion, let's have a roll call vote, please, Lisa.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell, Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Gary Querian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Orders number 7 and 8 pass 7-0.
Okay, let's go to the new business. Ordinance number 3-220, providing.
Ray, I got a question on
Yeah.
old business. Was there a order that we voted on last month for a liquor license for the 2 cents restaurant, a pub, whatever it is? But I don't see it on this. Is that a one-time shot?
Yes.
Michael or Adam, could you chime in?
Yep, Mr. Chairman, actually, that would have been a resolution only requiring one reading.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know.
Okay, moving on, new business, order number 3-220, providing for the repeal of Chapter 6 floodplain management, Ordinance 3, 1987, revised Ordinance 3-2001, and replacing it with the attached Chapter 6 floodplain management. Adam, a motion to bring that to the table, please. Adam, could you come on and just, or Mike, could you come on and just explain what this change means?
Sure. It's basically just an update. Our last ordinance was updated a little bit in 2011. This was requested by the state of Maine Floodplain Management Service. There's a few small changes. It really just brings our ordinance up to date with what it's supposed to be in FEMA regulations. It replaces those old worn out maps from 2011 that show the flood zone, replaces it with digital access to the state's website that has all the most recent floodplain information. It can be very helpful. It changes, there used to be a rule for accessory structures in a floodplain. The maximum was $3,000 worth or 500 square feet. FEMA has since eliminated that. And in order for us to remain consistent with the FEMA regulations, we need to update our ordinance to reflect those FEMA changes. It also gives us the opportunity to utilize a certain set of base flood elevations where there was no existing elevations at the time, and gives people the opportunity to use a certain level because there is no other permanent level existing provided for through FEMA. And that's the gist of it.
Thank you very much, Adam. Anybody else have any further discussions? If there's no further discussions, Lisa, could we have a roll call vote, please, on ordinance number 3-220?
Who is second on the motion? I have Jerry as the first.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And for the roll call, Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yeah.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Clarion,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
The ordinance number 3-2020 passes 7-0.
Okay. Order number 9-220, providing for authorization for the town manager to review the information technology service agreement with the city of Waterville for a 3-year term. I have a motion to bring that to the table, please.
So
So
moved.
move.
Second.
Open for discussion. Michael, could you just give us a brief summary?
Sure. So we've been using the Waterville IT staff for actually now for many years for our IT services, and they've done an outstanding job. I think for the most part, everyone for the town has been very satisfied with the service. Again, they've done a great job. The fees haven't been raised, I think, for almost 5 years. So as you will see in this agreement, it does call for some increases after the first year, which is understandable because obviously over the years, their costs have gone up as well.
For the first
Does anybody
year,
have any
it's not
questions?
going up much, right? For the
First year, it doesn't go up at all.
Yeah, and then it goes up to 37 the next two.
Right.
Okay.
If there's no further discussion, Lisa, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yeah.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Clarion, Jerry,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Order
Order number 10 dash,
passes
whoops.
7-0.
Sorry,
That's
trying to
okay.
hurry. Order number 10-220, providing for authorization for the town manager to sign the attached dispatch service agreement with the city of Waterville for a 3-year term. Can I have a motion to bring that on to the floor, please?
Second.
And discussion.
If I may, Ray,
Yes, Jeff.
I think we would be foolish to sign this. There is no cap whatsoever on what they can charge us from year to year. It, to me, is totally unacceptable. It's bad business on their part to not want to work with us on that. It'd be bad business for us to sign that. I mean, this is like giving telling a contractor what you want for a house, but giving them a checkbook and saying, but do it how you want to do it. This baffles me.
Yeah, Jeff,
Yeah.
I read through that whole thing there this afternoon because I don't have a printer. And there's a section in there that if we do not agree with what they come up with, we can get out of it. They don't
I
have to take
understand.
what they ask.
I understand that. But that would leave us in a position later on to have to try to find somebody to take us over right off. I mean, who's to say they're not going to look at us next year and charge us double what they're charging us? I mean, don't get me wrong. I think what they did this year going up, I don't agree with the way they did it. I agree that we're paying our fair share now because we weren't, I mean, obviously we weren't years past. But I also don't see where, 5% increase a year over that 3-year contract would be unreasonable for us to ask and them to be able to do. I mean, I understand their cost will go up year after year, just like everything. But the other thing you got to remember here is, let's say the town of Sydney drops off and goes with Augusta Regional Communication Center. Well, guess what they're going to do to us? And they're going to do to Oakland, and they're going to do to this town and that town. They're going to absorb that cost off our backs.
What options do we have, Jeff?
go back to the good negotiating table. This isn't a contract. This is a strong arm here, just do it or whatever.
Mr. Chairman,
I
if I may,
just-
Yeah, Mike, just a minute. The only thing I want to add too is that the fact that, this year, the cost for dispatch services to the town of Winslow increased by over $66,000. That's a 1-year increase of $66,000, which was, I understand it's a lot of money for 1 year. And I think Jeff has a point, and a good point that, there's nothing in that provision to prevent just increases in the future, whether they're justified or not. And it's just open-ended situation. Mike, could you come in on that, please?
sure. So right now, currently, we don't have another option. And unfortunately, we're not in a good negotiating position. We have had some discussions with Somerset County Communications. Chief O'Leary has spoken with them. Unfortunately, right now, anyway, they're not in a position to entertain taking us on as a customer. I think the town should continue those discussions with Somerset County and perhaps other communication centers, constantly exploring our options, because you're right, unfortunately, the Waterville agreement really doesn't consider our input. They didn't ask for our input in drafting that agreement. It was just something they put together, and unfortunately, we don't have another option.
Well, and can I just interject here for 1 second, Mike, if you don't mind? I had a conversation with somebody today, and from what I'm gathering, these so-called contracts that Waterville's putting out there, they aren't standard going across the board.
Yeah, I haven't seen other contracts, so haven't compared it to other contracts.
But before we vote on this, I think we should talk to our neighbors and see what they got for a contract.
Can I interject, ask one question?
Go ahead, Steve.
Mike, if we don't sign this right now, or if we table it or delay it a month, what would our status be? Will we stay under the old contract? Is there a contract now? When does it expire? And how much time do we have to consider and sign this?
No, there is currently no contract, and I will add, and I should have said originally, when I've got an original contract from Waterville that might be what Jeff is referring to. I suspect it was like what everybody else got, and the reason I say that is because there was another town mentioned in the agreement. So working with the two chiefs, I responded back to Waterville and made some requested changes, and they did make some changes to our request. So unfortunately, I think right now this is probably going to be the best that we can get until we can get another communication center that would be willing to entertain taking us on as a customer. When that happens, then we'd be in a much better negotiating position, but that's not the case right now.
Can we go with a
Well, I
1-year
guess-
contract, Mike?
Sure, yes, I could ask for a 1-year contract.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at, Mike, is the gentleman I spoke to today, he wasn't 100% certain. He was going to check on it and get back to me. Unfortunately, he hasn't gotten back to me yet tonight. Is that another area town locked in for a 3-year term at a locked in price? And
Okay.
he wasn't 100% certain of that, but to his recollection, they locked in at a 3-year price.
Okay.
Well, if that's how they're doing their contracts and they're picking and choosing who they're gonna work with, then sounds pretty shady to me.
So what I can do is I can ask Mike Roy that question about the contracts. It's public information, so I could certainly ask for copies, and we can compare them. But I will ask Mike Roy if they've locked in with another community for a fixed price for a 3-year period. And if the council's more comfortable, if you could amend or suggest that the contract be amended to just 1 year. And I can certainly work that out with Mike Roy.
Would that be better than tabling it for a month, Mike?
Yes, it would be. Hey,
So that first year would be at $112,000 anyway.
right, correct.
I'd make that amendment.
Second.
Mike, is this a, just a one reading or do we have to do 2 readings on it?
This is 2 readings.
So if we vote on a 1-year contract tonight, we can then, and say you go back and negotiate, you get a fixed price, and then you say you try to negotiate a fixed price for 3 years, we could amend that with the information that you gave us at the second reading. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And please don't, I don't want anybody to get me wrong thinking that I want a fixed price. I mean, I would have no problem if they went up 5% a year. I mean, their
Right.
costs are gonna go up.
Yes.
So I mean, obviously, somebody needs to pay for that.
But at
Yeah,
least it won't be
I think
open-ended.
leaving it op- I think this leaving it open-ended is just not good news.
Yeah.
And if they're not willing to work with us, then I think we need to look at other avenues.
But you
Does
need,
anybody else have any further?
yes. If they're
Is
not
there an
willing to
amendment
work,
on the,
There's an amendment on the floor.
there's an amendment on the floor right now for a one-year contract at the
Correct.
price that at the $100 and whatever $1,000 that we agreed on at this point in time.
Correct.
Are we done with discussion on the amendment at this point?
Yes.
If I hear, yes, okay. So Lisa, on the amendment, could we amend order number 9-220 to a one-year contract?
Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan, Lee,
Yes.
thank you,
Sorry.
Gary Querian,
yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes,
The amendment for 1 year passes for order number 10-2020.
the amendment, yes. Yep, the amendment. Now, now that we made the amendment, we'll bring it, what's still on the floor. If there's no further discussion for the 1-year contract at the price that we agreed to, let's then have a roll call vote on order number 9-220 amended version to a 1-year contract, please.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Ray Querian,
Yeah,
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen,
Yes,
and that passes as well, 7-0.
7-0. Order number 10-220, providing for authorization for the town manager to sign and attach. Whoops, sorry about that. No, oh,
Yeah.
sorry, that's the what's
I'd like to combine 17-2020 and 18-2020.
17 and 18, 2020. 17-2020 is providing for authorization for the fire chief to renew the existing mutual aid agreement with the Clinton Fire Department. Resolution 18-220, providing for authorization for the fire chief to renew the existing mutual aid agreement with the Albion Fire Department. There's a motion on the floor to combine 17 and 18.
Second.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
And
Any discussion on combining? If there is no discussion on combining, can I have a roll call vote, Lisa, on combining 17 and 18?
Yes, Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Gary Querian,
Yes,
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Combination passes 7-0.
Moving on, resolution 19-220, providing for
Hold on.
authorization.
No,
Point of order. Point of order.
Well,
We have to vote.
Sorry.
About the order.
okay, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Is there a first and a second for the approval of resolution 17 and 18?
I'll make a motion.
Move.
Thank
Second.
you. And the roll call, Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Tricia Air,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Clarion,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
The resolution 17 and 18 pass.
Thank you. Resolution 19-220, providing for authorization for the town manager to sign the attached settlement agreement and release with Snowden Consultant Engineers, INC Snowden. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Can I have a second? Mike, could you just briefly, or Paul, or combination of the two, briefly go over how we got to this situation and then the work being done this summer to rectify it?
Yes, so as you all know, we had issues with the Clinton Avenue project, paving project, and we worked with the contractor on a settlement. And so we also worked with the engineer on a settlement. We've already finalized the settlement with the contractor. And this will basically, the settlement here with Snowden Engineering will put the matter to rest for us. And Paul has been working on correcting the issues with the road. And we hope to do that this summer.
Is there any other further discussion on that issue? If not, Lisa, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Clarion,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Resolution number 19-2020 passes 7-0.
Great, thank you very much. Tanya, are you still there?
Yes.
I know that I'm almost afraid to ask you this question, but I know that you are gathering public information and public questions from the public. If I'm giving you this, I didn't see you raise your hand, but I am giving you this opportunity to, if you want to, let us have any questions that we could answer in a brief amount of time before we go to discussion items.
Yep. And unfortunately, nobody has sent any emails at all. It looks like the only questions that are coming through are mainly through Tricia's Facebook Live. But so no one's emailed the town of Winslow yet.
Okay, great, okay. If that's moving on, I know we have a few discussion items that we had. One of them was 729 Benton Avenue property maintenance issue. I know that over the last, in the last 10 years, it seems like the last couple years, I've got an increase in if an adjacent property owner is like puts junk, puts construction debris, is unsightly, doesn't keep up their lawn, and then the owner goes to try to sell it, and then the town is has their hands tied. We have no ordinance that says, hey, this is unsightly, you need to clean it up. There's no definition of what a mess is and what unkept is. And over the last, especially the last 2 years, that we've had issues. People have come to the town to try to rectify these, try to get somebody to do something. And especially when somebody tries to sell a property and the adjacent property or nearby property is unsightly, they feel that, and rightfully so, they feel like, you know, people come to look. And this is a discussion item, whether we, you know, we should have a property, we should look into the possibility of having some type of guidelines. And we have talked about this over my time on the council for 10 years, probably about 4 or 5 times where these issues have come up, and pretty much that we don't have any means. And mostly it would be the, Adam, could you just briefly state kind of like the situation and maybe even a little bit of your opinion on it?
Well, you sure you want my opinion?
Yes, I do. Of course I do. And I know it, but I'm asking you anyway. So,
Well, I wouldn't go as far to say that there's nothing we can do at all for some of these properties. When it becomes a health hazard, there are avenues that I can take with our current ordinances that would give me the ability to make some. The situation on Benton Avenue, after a closer look, I did notice that there was some household trash mixed in. Therefore, I went ahead to start the process of forcing them to clean it up. We'll see how that goes. It often takes time. People don't always have the resources to pay to get things cleaned up immediately. And then there's a huge difference between people that live in town versus people that live out in the rural part of our town. It's a little bit of a different way of life. And that being said, if you draw up an ordinance, it's got to be for everybody. I know that every town that I've worked with that does have a property maintenance order, it's been nothing but problems. And they end up being changed. But just to let you know, there are avenues I can take. It depends on if there's a health and safety, but you know, I'm just afraid if we do pass some sort of strict property maintenance ordinance, that I'm going to be getting calls when somebody's grass is half an inch too long, and I don't really want to be out there with a ruler doing that type of thing when I've got more important life safety things to help the town out with and to help the community out with. And I know it's been discussed before I got here, and apparently it was decided that we wouldn't have anything like that. But after digging deeper in our current codes, we do have avenues that I can take.
We tried this a couple of years ago when we went to that abandoned building ordinance, and we decided not to go with that because of the reasons that Adam was speaking.
yeah, you know, back 20 years ago when you had a tenement place and the people that owned it into the town of Winslow, they owned it, and they took pride in what their tenements were and the rental property that they had. I see now that these big companies with, 2,000 or 700 units, they're just getting people in and out, and the property gets pretty run down. And it's just disappointing as I travel the town of Winslow and see this and being pretty much have no recourse. What do the other councilors feel about this issue, and maybe how to address it in the future? If there's any feelings by anybody.
I have 2 locations that I keep hearing complaints about. One is a property on Outer Clinton Ave owned by a gentleman, and his property looks a little bad from the road with a lot of things on it. And then the corner where the old Dunkin' Donuts building, that corner right there when you come across the bridge, is number 1, the biggest complaint, because we have no say over mowing the lawn there. Now, do I want that rule to then apply to someone on the Abbott Road? No, because it's hard. You can't have one rule for everyone in the town of Winslow. I think that's really unfair. I think that someone in the country is a little bit different than, you know, in the downtown. So I think that's a really hard thing to do.
Does anybody feel that, you know, does anybody else have any feelings on this issue or would like to would like to state their opinion?
I think a property maintenance ordinance, I mean, historically, are hard to enforce. If I'm wrong, somebody please let me know. You know, and at what point, I mean, don't get me wrong, I can tell you 5 places right now, right off the top of my head, that if I lived next to them, I'd be a little bent in the head, but you know what? I don't know. I don't know where we'd even go with that.
It's a very touchy subject because you're talking about somebody's right to their personal property and how they want to maintain their personal property. So it's a very, very fine line. I think we've spoken in the past about safety concern versus eyesore, you know, abandoned homes with, you know, hazardous things where kids could go on, you know, things like that. That was one of the comments right there on Facebook, is just eyesore versus safety. So,
yeah.
One of the problems, if we had that type of ordinance, would it become a battleground for neighbors?
Yes.
That's one of the.
Yeah.
And neighbors will do that, because I've seen some in my neighborhood where neighbors have been fighting each other for years, even to the extent of calling the PD and code enforcement.
another comment that I have here on Facebook is just applying it to like our commercial areas, which I'm looking at the zone map right now. If we were to do something, I mean, it would be mixed use, and that's a huge parcel of land right there that is residential and commercial. So it'd be hard to pick and choose. And I wouldn't want anyone to think they were picking certain businesses or certain areas of Winslow over others. It's a very touchy subject.
Yeah, and I understand that it would be very, very difficult to enforce, but I'm hearing more and more as time goes on, where unkept property and the devaluation of what the property adjacent to it is. Would the council be in favor of Mike and anybody that wanted to be involved, myself and Adam, getting together, maybe with a few property owners and trying to troubleshoot, looking at some property maintenance ordinances and maybe coming up with a few ideas to bring in front of the council at the next council meeting as a discussion item to further at least look into the issue. Mike, would you, or Adam, would you, including myself, and I would definitely help do a lot of the research. Would you guys be open to just Zoom meet a few times before the next meeting?
I'd be open to that, Ray.
I wouldn't mind discussing things if asked.
We already have like a couple of times already, but but I think it's important enough, and I think they have some and obviously they have some legitimate concerns, because anybody who would live next door to some of these places would feel the same way that they do. And I think
Absolutely.
we owe it, and to look into, possibly, some common sense, maybe solutions that we can come up with, and maybe not, but yet at least we will investigate it for because it's not going to go away. These issues, and as tenements come run down and trash and absentee landlords that live very far away.
I get personally, maybe once a month, somebody will call in for something like that. And most of the time, the situation remedies itself. Whether it's not me, leaving a note on their door or just a letter asking them to clean up. Some people don't even realize that their property is a mess. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I guess that's what they say. So it's a difficult one.
It wouldn't hurt to
It is
talk
very-
about this again. It wouldn't hurt to talk about it again. Let's say it was brought up
Okay.
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Mike and I and Adam will, if it's okay with the rest of the council, obviously anybody can be involved. But I've done some research on it already, so I'm kind of versed in it, and then we can at least have an open discussion at the next meeting about it, of how to proceed or how not to proceed.
Sure.
Mike, on the
Is that
last
okay?
time we did that on the abandoned building, you looked into all of that, right? As far as, abandoned properties as well as how the area looked?
Yeah, so initially, we started out with having it applied to basically all properties. And then it eventually got narrowed down to just abandoned properties.
Okay, so we'll, Adam and I and Mike will meet. Is there any other discussion items that anybody would like to have at this point in time? Tanya, if nothing, or if anybody has anything that they've seen online that is, it would be beneficial
I'm
to
gonna
the
bring up
conversation
one
of tonight?
comment. Someone keeps talking about it multiple times in the group, Paul, about the Morrill Road. I'm sorry to bring it up again, but they're bringing it up again. They're still not happy with us filling in the holes. They think it's really difficult. They own a motorcycle. They're having a hard time traveling on the road. They live on it. They're just really, really, really unhappy. There are multiple comments about it at the condition of the road, and I don't know if waiting another year is a good idea.
I think in August, we were going to bring out a bond for the 2.5 million. Whoops, is everybody still there? We were going to bring out the bond, and now with revenue sharing and stuff, we were going to do the 200,000 table right now for the 12 roads that we were going to do, which is really disappointing. But there's not a heck of a lot we can do. Also, we were going to do the $2.5 million bond for a 3-year maintenance project for catching up on our roads. And now, this is the first time I hear it now, is that and I think we expected to have some revenue shortfall, but those are important decisions that we'll have to make in August as to, what is the next year's fiscal budget and what it's going to be. It is not going to be easy. And Michael, it's not going to be. And to see those roads deteriorate for another couple of years after we had a plan in place, and that plan is out of the window now. And we've thrown it out the window to some extent. And we're going to have to make some pretty decisions. Mike or Paul or Adam, could you chime in on this?
I actually got I got a phone call today from a lady that requested her road not be paved because every time they fix it, people drive too fast on it. So she wants it to crumble down to be as bad as possible.
Wow.
I think it was the Bassett Road, which is
one of the roads that's in my district, the Morrill Road in my district, and the South Pond Road and South Reynolds Road. Paul, I'm beginning to feel like I'm being targeted as a counselor and that you just don't like my district, because those are literally the biggest complaints I get are those roads, and they're really bad. Like it's not a good situation.
I don't know what to tell you, Trish. I mean, we're doing part of the Bassett Road this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll do the rest next year if you guys get some money. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Are there any roads that, you know, we can swap, like maybe in another councilman's district and then swap one of my roads in, you know, to make people happy?
The only thing we're
Well-
doing here is the Bassett Road. That's the only road we're doing this year.
Okay.
And I think, Mike, if, I don't want to step out of line here, but since we're having discussions at this point in time, is that, you know, could you, we are in the process right now of, Mike, if you could talk about the situation on Benton Avenue with the industrial park, and you might not be able to, but if you could say anything, we might be able to have a funding source for something in the future.
Yeah, so as you know, we sell the remainder of our industrial building, the portion that's occupied by Orion Rope Works. We had an interested party. They basically said they're willing to buy it for 2.5 million, provided they can negotiate an agreeable lease with the current tenants. That's Orion Rope Works. Apparently, they were able to do that. However, Orion Rope Works basically made a request that they not be required to enter into any agreement until the COVID-19 situation is either resolved or to a point where they would feel comfortable with moving forward. So we've given them an extension to July 5th for the closing, with the understanding that if the COVID-19 situation flares up, that we may have to extend that again. But right now we're looking at a July 5th closing for the 2.5 million sale of our industrial building.
Mr. Chairman, since I'm on the Kennebec County Budget Committee, Kennebec County right now is looking at 9.77% increase in county assessment to all the communities in the county. And it's been pointed out to them about revenue sharing and what might happen. Winslow's assessment would go up 11.9%. Hopefully we can get that down a little.
Well, we all know we're gonna have budget restraints coming up. Mike, you have something here?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
Earl Watts sent a message in our Zoom meeting in the chat in the bottom asking about, has there been any interest in the junior high school from anyone?
Yeah.
Well, there's a
Yeah.
meeting coming up on the 19th, Tish, for the junior high group, okay?
Okay.
Mike, I just want to make sure before we go on to that subject, because I think Mike has some information that he might be able to share with us. But before we get to that situation, I think, you know, and the reason why I brought up the Orion rope is that, you know, that income there this year, I don't know where we're going to earmark it. Obviously, maybe some of that could be used for some roads, or maybe that could be, you know, depending on if July 30th, whether this year we could start maybe getting back the 200,000 for the 12 roads and start chipping away and make a plan, another 2-year plan maybe, about roads that we have to fix, like the Morrow Road and those other roads that we would have fixed, I believe, if not for this reduction in revenue sharing, which we don't really know how much of that money we'll have to spend
Well, that
if we want to have no mill rate increase.
No, right. Yeah, no, I agree. And that, I know in the past, I haven't been on the council as long as everyone else, but we've cut from road repair to not have a tax increase or to pay for other things. And I don't think that that's okay, because that puts Paul in a really difficult situation, which is why I'm coming at him right now with, why aren't you fixing my roads? But in the past, we've taken from his budget. So it's a really tough situation. And I'm fine with taking the money or a small part of the money to fix roads, but we have to come up with a plan. And we as counselors have to be strict about what we're doing and where we're taking those funds, because we can't just continue to switch funds and move funds around when we get into a situation like this.
If we don't do something on the roads, I wouldn't even vote for me if I don't do something for the roads. And I don't blame anybody for not voting for me. If we don't come up with a plan, then I don't deserve to be a councilman, because we're ignoring the fact that we're not keeping our infrastructure up. So
There's
that's
27
going to be
people
important
watching this,
for
right?
us
So
in the future.
there's 27 witnesses to that statement that you just said. So
That's fine. That's fine. That is fine with me. But that's where we're heading right now. And I think that, it's critical that we come up with some type of a plan
yeah.
that addresses the long-term road situation that we have here.
Yeah, just because of how busy
those
our
are my
communities are
thoughts.
being, land in Vassaboro has been selling very quickly and very fast. And we have to think about our neighbors in Waterville and like what's happening there. So we definitely need to keep up with that.
Thank you, Michael, for that update on the Orion Road situation. And hopefully in August, if we do have that sold and we get the revenue sharing, and maybe as our representative said, that there might be something coming in for reimbursement for some of these lost revenues that we had. There's a lot of unanswered questions, but luckily we potentially can soften that blow with some of the situations that we have. We'll probably, because of the sale, maybe perhaps of Orion, might be in a position where we can soften that economic blow to the city, or we're going to be faced with having this year no mill rate. We might be faced with the fact of having to adjust the mill rate after to balance the budget in August or something. Mike, is after we pass this budget, the second reading tonight, can we go back in and adjust the mill rate at that point in time, or do we have to have cuts to balance the budget? Mike, could you answer that question, please?
Sure. Let me first of all say, just for clarity, that we don't determine the mill rate. That's part of the assessor's process. However, we have in the past, after the budget is passed, into the new fiscal year, we have reopened the budget and we've made amendments to it, so we can do that.
Okay. So everything's on the table as far as the budget goes. Mill rate increases, shifting, cuts, everything is pretty much open, and we won't know that for a couple months.
Correct.
And the other thing to let the councils know is Congress might pass some kind of relief, but no guarantees.
There's no guarantees anyplace. I can tell you that right now. Michael, Mike, I know Trish had a question about the junior high and the status of the junior high. And I don't know how much you can share with us, or I think Peter's gone. Peter Tibertot's gone. I'm just looking for him. Yep, Peter's gone. But anything you can share with us on the junior high? I know we had a discussion earlier today.
Yes, so KV Cap is interested in doing a project with the junior high facility, an affordable housing project for senior citizens. Right now, their plan calls for using the addition part of the building. And as far as the older part of the building, which includes the auditorium, they're would like to have a nonprofit manage that space. So what they're going to do, or what they're proposing to do, would be to renovate the old part of the building, including the auditorium, bring it up to code so it meets code, and then find a nonprofit that would be willing to lease, for example, lease out the rooms that are there for perhaps office space. They've offered or proposed that perhaps the school, if we need locker rooms associated with the football field, that there would be space available in that to do that. The school, if they wanted to, could use the auditorium. So I did schedule a meeting with our junior high building committee actually for next week. And David Pelton from KV Cap is going to basically make the proposal to the committee and then answer any questions that they have. And what I'll be looking for from the committee will be, if they're comfortable in making a recommendation, then what they might recommend to the town council. They may say they might need more information, and so David may come back at a later time with more information. But ultimately, I'm hoping the committee will get to the point where they can comfortably make a recommendation to the town council about the reuse of that building.
Mike, on that committee meeting, since there's a lot of people with some interest in that, would we be able to, if somebody was interested, either Chad would stream it for use, not necessarily live, but for further viewing? Would that be a possibility?
Yes, so I do plan to record it, and what I'll do is once I record it, I'll work with Chad to have it converted so we can put a link on the web and put a link on our website so folks could go and watch the meeting.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good. Does anybody else have any discussion items that they would like to discuss further tonight?
Just to let you know, I'm still here, Ray.
Oh, hey.
Hey, Ray.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's good. Hey, I'm glad. Jeez.
Hey, Ray.
You really have no life, Peter.
Did you know that Winslow was just voted the #1 place in the state of Maine to purchase a new home? I
did do that, and I should have brought that up. And I did put that on my Facebook page, and that was a #1. And the criteria was mortgage. It was a whole bunch of issues, but the mill rate was part of that discussion.
Good news.
And you can see the young families moving into the town, Adam, and it's just the streets are full of kids at different places, and especially you see it now because people are trying to get out, especially in the early to late afternoon, and the cars are going slow, and it's like it's great to see. Just a personal note is that since my daughter is 7 months pregnant, so she took Mallory, the 2.5-year-old, 2.3-year-old, out of daycare. So because we didn't want to take a chance and expose Katie being 7 months pregnant. So I have the 2.5-year-old at the house 5 days a week from 8 to 1. I've never been so tired in my life, but I'm actually part of the generation that but no one is mistaking me as the father of Mallory. But it's been fun. It's been fun to see all the kids that are coming back, and my daughter came back because she couldn't afford to live in Gorham. Childcare would have been over $2,000 a month for childcare alone for two people. I think it was $2,500 a month. So, and then the house was a ranch, and they sold it for like $250,000 with no garage on a half-acre lot. So, and they just couldn't afford to live there. But working from home, they were able to come back to the town of Winslow, buy an affordable home, have a tax rate that's really, really good. So those are important things to remember. And the personal benefit for me of having my daughter next to me, it's good for me. I think she wonders sometime whether it's good, but I definitely wonder I definitely enjoying it immensely. If no one else has any other any other comments? I would.
I just have a comment, not to fight. I just never, ever, ever want to be accused again of not sharing the Facebook comments on our own Town of Winslow Facebook page. So Mike or Tanya or Lisa or whoever's doing it, can you please copy and paste the comments? Because even though everyone's significant others are commenting on there, I guess they're not being read to them. So I just want to make sure that's being transparent. And I see that Ray has Facebook. He hasn't added me as a friend. I won't take offense to that, but I just want to make sure that everyone else is getting the comments that are being put on there. So,
Yeah, I don't think you sent me as a friend, Trish. You haven't friended me.
Whatever.
Okay.
What?
I would.
I was going to say, you're going to get all kinds of friend requests now.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I think it's unanimous, 7-0.
Sounds good.